quick. When you are eating with lifton, when you eat bread with a relish, you eat the bread quicker. When you eat the bread with nothing, it's harder to chew and to swallow the bread. All of this is dinim just to minimize, to make the shiur of achilas paras shorter, which is a chumrah, because if you lingered in that shorter amount of time, your kalim become tummy. Anyway, so the din of chita is to teach us that every time you're going to learn in throughout Shas, bechdei achilas paras, it's referring to a chita pas and not a so'ira pas. The din of a so'ira, what shiur is connected to so'ira, says the gemara ditran, etzem ki so'ira, a bone of a corpse. So a bone is matame even if it's only in the size of a barley. Now when it comes, let's say, to tumas oil, that's not enough. For tumas oil, so many different dinim. A roiva hakav of bones, roiv binyan, remember that? Or the skull, or the spinal cord. The etzem kisoira is not metama the oil, but it's metama not only if you touch it, but even if you moved it, you can move something without touching it directly. You become tummy. Metama b'agam masa, but then metama b'oil. What din do we learn from Geffen? Says the Gemara, Kidei revius yain l'nazir. A nazir who may not cut his or her hair, a nazir that may not consume wine, nor eat grapes or grape product. Now there is a klal, whenever there is an isur of achila, what shiur does it refer to? Kizayis. Here we have an exception. That the shiur of eating grapes or grape products by the nazir is not kizayis. It's a much larger shiur. It's the shiur of a revius. Hold on, how do you get to a revius? How do you measure a revius, which is a liquid measure when it comes to solids? So here's the secret. You take a cup, you fill it with liquid. You put in it product. When the product, the solids, displace enough liquid that amounts to a revius, that's how you measure when it comes to a solid a revius. Rabbeinu Gershon, the Mo'er HaGoyle, that's the one who made the Cherem, the Rabbeinu Gershon. The whole Cherem, the Rabbeinu Gershon, came about that he was married to 2 wives. I mean, he made 3 Charamim, and then he built for the king there, in Austria or somewhere in Europe, a throne, mamish, copied by Shlomo HaMelech's throne. That was the whole Maisa. And then they suspected him of stealing the silver, but in order to prove that he stole the silver, you have to weigh the throne. And so the king told him to weigh the throne. There was no weight that can weigh his throne. It's Gavaldik HaMais. But the king knew that he would figure out how to weigh the throne without taking, and he told the king, if I'll take it apart to weigh it, I don't know, it was so hard to make it, I don't know if I'll make it again. So the second wife got out of him the information, she was working for the king, that you don't have to take the throne apart. That was the word, that you put it, you put a ship is in the water. You put the throne on the ship. When the throne is in the ship, you mark on the sides of the outside of the walls of the ship where the water is at. Because the throne puts the ship deeper in the water. Then they took the throne out. Then they put many pebbles or rocks. And once it hit the same line, same displacement, then they weighed each rock separately. This is the sug. In other words, if you want to figure out how to come to a certain liquid measure by a solid, it's about displacing the liquid. So you first taste. Now there's another detail, like Rashi explains. If I want to come to a revius of solids, so I'm putting a revius of pits and of peels, of whatever, any product from a grape in a cup. If there's a cup of water, water is more liquidy, less gooey, so water gets displaced quicker. Revius yayin means that this way of coming to how do you measure the solid into a revius, it's not about it displacing water by the nazir, it's about it displacing wine, which is a leniency, because since wine is stickier, you need more solids to kick it out of the cup, because the wine wants to stay in the keli. You can't kick out the wine so quick. Wine represents something deeper, right? The yeno shaltaira. The deeper you come into a Jew, you can't bachlal get rid of it. But the deeper, the harder, the more that it hears. So the yain te'eno. What then do we learn from te'eno? Kigroi geres loitzoy Shabbos. That's next Masech already. When it comes to carrying, so for a person to be chayiv chatos, if they carried b'shoigeg, they have to carry the minimum amount of a dried fig. If they carried less than that, then they're not even chayiv chatos. The din of rimoin. What is rimoin? What shiur? Kidetnan kol clay balabatim. If a balabayis has a utensil and it became tamei, especially if the keli is made out of cheres and you cannot be metayered by taking it to the mikvah. Or even if it's made out of a material that mikvah is an option. But there is another way that the tumah goes out. What would be the other way? If the keli becomes invalidated. If the keli becomes broken. Okay, let's go into that. How much of a breakage do you need in the keli for us to say, the keli is ois keli? So if you have kalim by a storekeeper, if you have a store and you're selling kalim, even a smaller hole in a keli will invalidate the keli because no one will want to buy it. But when it comes to klei balabatim, in my home, even if the keli was designated to use it for one item and it became invalidated because that item would fall out of the hole, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to use it for a larger item. When does it become completely invalidated? If the hole is so large that a rimoin can go out. Shiurim k'rimoinim. Like Rashi explains, dafka balabatim, because of the rule that a balabayis has to be chas on his kalim. Right? Sadikim, a balabas has to have mercy on his utensils. Sadikim, the Chazal say that they'll give up their lives to save their kalim. And when people learn it, they have a very negative reaction because they don't understand what they're learning. We understand, al pi chassidus, that just like every person has a unique mission, right? Alter Rebbe also explains it in the Geras HaKodesh, every Yid has his or her chelik in the world that they have to elevate. Every Yid has their chelik in the Torah that they have to clarify. Maybe ours is the shahakal business. And if God, the Hashgacha Pratis, you are the owner of that keli, even if it has very little value, you are the only Yid that can elevate the spark that's in it. And you don't have the right to throw it out. That's why Yaakov Avinu went back to get his pachim ketanim. We have to be chas. So if I have a keli that is broken, if I can make another use for it, I don't have the right to say, throw it out. That keli was waiting from the beginning of creation for my neshama to use it for a mitzvah. But when is it ruined? When it's kemoitz rimoin. The next one, Eretz Zei Shemen. That's the classical. Amar Rabbi Yosi Berab Chanina. Eretz Shekol Shiureh Kizeisim. Kol, kol is an extreme. Kol Shiureh Salkadaitach. V'hoika Hanach da Amaran. We just went through other shiurim, so the Gemara clarifies Ela Eretz Sheroiv Shiureh Kizeisim. And the Vash, what's the shiur of the Vash? Guys, Yom Kippur. There the Torah speaks about Inoi. Inoi means we have to afflict ourselves. Even if a person eats a kezayis, when you are fasting, you're still afflicted. When does the affliction go away? What's the shiur of Yom Kippur? Ki koiseves hagasa, like a large date. Yom Kippur. So b'kitzur, all of this, what are we bringing out from all this? That if this pasuk is coming to teach us shiurim, then we can't use this pasuk for dinei kedima. But ve'idach, hanei shiurim behedya miksivi, the others that do use this pasuk for dinei kedima, they say, even according to you, when Hashem wrote a land that has chita, did Hashem speak about the din of achilas pras? Is that written in the pasuk? Ella, we're going to read the emendation on the side. Hilchasaninu. That's the way we learn. That shiurim halacha l'moshe misinai. Right, and even though it's good to chazer, right, Yaakov, that Rambam writes in Hagdama to Periscope Mishnah that halacha l'moshe misinai means something that's not even alluded to beremez in a pasuk. Nevertheless, we find, like here and in many other places, that something that is still called a halacha l'moshe misinai, the Gemara gives us an asmachta from a pasuk. That means an asmachta is even less than a remez. That it doesn't take away the status of halacha l'moshe misinai. The Chachamim told us, you want to remember shiurim, learn this pasuk, and each item is connected to one of the shiurim. Ella hilchasaninu v'kras machta ba'alma. Okay, now let's move on to this opening of a new sugya. The new sugya is you washed, you're having a meal, something is brought for you during the meal. But for some reason, it's halachically not connected to the meal. So here are the three options. Either no bracha before nor after is made, because since you are having a meal, it's included in the hamoitzi, and it's going to be included in the birchas hamazon. Option number two is, even if it will be included in birchas hamazon, but you will have to make a bracha prior. Option number three is you have to make a bracha prior and a bracha after. So let's learn a whole array of opinions. Rav Chiz and Rav Hamnuna, They were having a meal. And it was brought in front of them, dates and pomegranates. Oh, so first of all, the very fact that they made a bracha, that already is going to open up the new sugya. But what's the link between that sugya and the sugya that we're learning about right now about the din kedima? Because now comes another question. If you hold that you have to make a bracha because you're having fruit during a meal, as we'll speak out in this amid, why? Now the question is, which one comes first? Now let me ask you, which one comes first? If we're going to use this verse as teaching us din kedima doesn't only mean hadama and ha'etz. It means whichever one is mentioned first in the pasuk should come first. So which one is mentioned in the pasuk first? The dates or the pomegranates? Guys, dates is mentioned last because devash means devash tamarim in this pasuk. It doesn't mean honey. It means dates. So l'chayra, according to what we learned, you should make the bracha on the rimain. So comes along. So these two were sitting. Shakal Rav Hamnuna and Berachot tamrei bereisha, and he makes a bracha on the dates first. Rav Hamnuna, Alma Discassia, Nuna Yama, the greatest. Amalei Rab Chizda, I don't understand. Lo Sfira le Mar Lahad Amar Rabbi Yosef or V'Yiteimer Rabbi Yitzchak said that Kol Hamokim HaPasuk Zeh Koydem LeBracha. Dates are the last. Amar le, I do subscribe to it, but you have to know how to learn a pasuk. So listen to this. The pasuk begins with the words Eretz. So Eretz, Chito, So'oida, V'Gefen, V'Te'ena, V'Rimain. Rimain is mentioned. What number from the word Eretz? The fifth. Eretz, Chito, Uso'oira, Gefen, Te'ena, and Rimain. Then the Torah says again Eretz. Eretz, Zeis, Shemen, Udvash. So the Dvash is written after Eretz. What number? Number 2. Number 2 is before number 5. Zeh Sheini LaEretz, V'zeh Chamishi LaEretz. Gavaldik. Amalei says Rab Chizda to Rav Hamnuna, Man Yov. Man Yov in Lashon HaKodesh means mi yitain. Mi yitain in the Yiddish meant halavai. That nigre, that man Yov lam. Nigre the parzalo. Halavai, God will give me iron feet. In order for me to become your mishamash, for me to serve you. There's so much to learn from you. Halavai, I would have iron feet to do shimush to someone like you. Gavaldik. Okay. The irony is that Rav Hamnuna, like we mentioned, is really connected to Soiviv Kolalnim. Soiviv Kolalnim is above Din Kedima. Above Din Kedima. And it's kind of funny that he ordered it differently. Because if you follow the Pasuk Kipshutai, the last one is dates. But he showed you that what it comes later really comes before. Not only because of Soiviv Kolalnim, because Take Eretz is counted. Okay, Itmar. Now we're diving into the sugya, and that's going to continue on Daf Mem Beis. Why did they have to make a bracha? They're having a meal. Oh, so here you see that even though you're having a su'uda defined by hamoitzi, sometimes something that is brought to you during the meal. Again, there's how do you apply appetizers during the meal, dessert, right? Everything is being touched upon right now. Itmet heviu lifneim te'enim and another. And what did they do? Oh, I'm sorry, this is a new sugya, not the story of above, but another story. Here it's figs and grapes. Here we're not speaking about which one comes first. V'soy chasuda, amar afuna tu'unin bracha lifneihem, ve'ein tu'unin bracha la'achareim. Why? Now you have to learn every edition gives another way of wording it. Let's look inside the Rashi. Count 15 line downs. It's very important, every word here. Heviu lifneim, I'm reading Rashi. Te'enim v'anavim v'seicha su'uda. Here is the key. V'loy lelapes or lelafes esapas. Many foods were eaten then with bread. It was called a condiment to the bread. Right? Today people eat hummus like that, for example. So we learned before that meat used to be eaten that way. Okay, so since these fruits were not eaten as a condiment to the bread, if that would have been the case, the imkain havalu tefilla. Ve'ein choylek b'davar, no one would argue, and everyone would agree, she'ein ton bracha loy lefanav v'loy la'achrav. Elo, why did they bring the fruits that lipa'amim sheba lematek espiv b'toy chassidut b'peiros? You're eating, and people want to have something sweet during the meal. During the meal. B'toy chassidut. Whether this applies to an appetizer, that's the big question. An appetizer, you can argue, is not to bring sweetness to your mouth. An appetizer might be eaten to open up your appetite. That might be different because opening your appetite is more connected to the meal. Here, it's not even to open your appetite. You want to push it, put something sweet in your mouth.
Dessert.
Huh?
Dessert.
This for sure will go into dessert. Yeah. Here, it can be even in the middle of the meal. So these are the two things. It's not a condiment. It's not in any way connected to nourishment. That's the other criterion. It's only to have something sweet. So that's why Rav Huna holds that you need a bracha before, but you don't need a bracha afterwards. You don't need a bracha afterwards. Why don't you need a bracha afterwards? Because since it did give you nourishment, what is Birchas Hazon? Birchas Hazon is your blessing Hashem for the fact that God gives me nourishment. So it includes it. V'chein Amar Rav Nachman, tu'unim bracha lifneim. You need a bracha before. It's not lalapes esapas. Okay? I am not eating it for nourishment. I am eating it for sweet. So a bracha before, yes, but a bracha achrayna, no. Ve'eino tom bracha lefnei, meaning it doesn't need. Of course, everything needs. It's included in the birchas hamaz. However, v'rab sheishis amar tu'unin bracha bein lefneihem ubein la'achareyhem. And why does he say that? Because Rab Sheishis says she'ein lecha davar she'to'un bracha lefana ve'ein to'un bracha la'achrav. Where do we find that a bracha before is made, and you don't have its corresponding bracha afterwards? These words is important. Where do you find that? You only have it ela pas haba bekisnin bilvad. Okay, opening up haba bekisnin. And as we mentioned, the next year in Daf Membeis, we're going to speak out the three opinions in the Rishonim that teaches the pas haba bekisnin. Just to know, the literal word kisnin means pocket bread. Let's go with the Rabbeinu Hananel. It's like a pie. Pie means that the dough, the dough part is a normal dough, or today it would be a pita bread. But they would put in the pocket a lot of other stuff. All right? Where do we find that you make a bracha before and the bracha afterwards is not it's not the same, only by pas haba bekisnin? Let's read inside Rashi. Now, this is so important. Pas haba bekisnin la'achar achila. Look inside Rashi, my friends. U birchas hamazayin. That's according to Rashi when people would eat it. Then, in those days, after you benched, they would bring in front of a person kisnin. It's called kisnin bread. What is that? Ve'hein kiloyos. They would bring toasted grain. But we'll see, in other words, it was filled with toasted grain. Why would they have that? Also, this is important, and it's after Birchas Hamazon according to Rashi. Not for nourishment, because we learned before that it's good for your heart. But they wouldn't just eat toasted grains. Pas. Look inside the Rashi. Sheneloisha im tavlin. Bread that was kneaded. Here the dough itself was kneaded with spices. Ke'ein, and he gives you a French type of bread. Sholanu. V'yesh oisen oisen came in sipoidim v'ilanos. They had in there chickens, certain special meats, shahakol, or they had in it certain fruits. V'oichlen mehem davar muat, and they would have a small amount. Umitoich shen noisnin ba tavlin harbe ve'egoize mushkedim umachal muat loy hitiuna bracha me'ein gimel. Rashi holds, what bracha prior would you make for pas haba bekisnin? Mezoinus. Why would you make mezoinus? Because you have Shvarav and Shmuel, the 5 grains. But there's an exception. Normally every prior bracha has its corresponding after bracha. An exception. What's the exception? They would make a bite on the nefashos afterwards. Why would they make a bite on the nefashos afterwards? According to Rashi, because umachala muat, which means, chavre, this is the question. If I eat something that has flour in it, and I made a mazonis, okay, it's not a meal, it's a snack, and it's not bread. If you snack on bread, you always have to make hamoitzi. Question is, do you have to make a bracha on Tilas Yadayim? Do you have to make after bracha? For there you have shiurim. But for the smallest amount of bread, you got to make hamoitzi. But in the case where you make a mazonis, and we'll speak more about this in next year, but mazonis bread, whether it's a bluff the whole thing or not. So you make a mazonis. What happens if when I ate a kazayas. But if you analyze the ingredients, there's so little flour in there, the kazayas is not comprised of a kazayas of mazonis. It's a kazayas of nuts. It's a kazayas of this bird. It's a kazayas of a spice. The ruba is a bayan of fashais. So Rashi holds that's the pasababa kisnin. You know, Rav Sheshes is saying, where do we find that a bracha after doesn't correspond to the bracha before? By pasababa kisnin. That there, if you would eat a lot of pasababa kisnin, you make a bracha before, you would make a alamichya, me'ein shalish. But if you only have a kazayas, or maybe even you have two kazayasim, but in there you didn't even have a kazayas of flour, Rashi says you make a bayit on nefashos. Like pas oiris v'doichin, according to some of the opinions that we learned above, according to some opinions that you make a mazonis prior, but you make a bayit on nefashos. Okay. So coming back to Rav Sheshes, so Rav Sheshes holds that if you have fruits that are brought to you in middle of the meal, then you have to make a bracha before and after, because it's only fair. If you make now for fruits you make a ha'etz. What's the bracha after ha'etz? Well, it depends. If it's from the Shivas Haminim, you make the me'ein zayin. If it's apples, you make a sweet apples, you make a bayit on nefashos. The Birchas Hamazon doesn't cover it. And where do we have an exception that the bracha after doesn't correspond to the bracha before? Pasa baba kistim. Tosfos has a few issues with Rashi. 1, 2, 3, the fourth Tosfos. It's towards the top of the Amud. This is so important, these sugyas. Ela pasa baba kistim. That there, the tom bracha lefanav, the ein tom bracha la'achrav, meaning rak b'ayna nefashos. He's quoting all Rashi and scoot down on Tosfos. And Rashi Nochi quotes Rashi says that we're speaking about Pasa Baba Kisnin that comes after Birchas Hamazon. Says Tosfos, I disagree with Rashi. First of all, Tosfos holds that if I am eating a food for which I made a mazonis, why? Not because the majority was flour. Rav and Shmuel says that Kol sheyesh boy mechamesh aminim, right? Unless it's ladabek, unless it's a binder, you got to make a but you made a mazonis. Tosfos holds that if you made a mazonis, we view everything like a mazonis. And if you ate a kazayis of it, even though, if you want to analyze the ingredients, you did not eat a kazayis of the grains, gavaldi, Tosfos holds you make an alamichya. Okay. And furthermore, Tosfos holds that the pasa baba kistan that Rav Sheshes is referring to is not after Birchas Hamazon, something that we relate to. It's what we call dessert. Mizaynis dessert. What do we do by Mizaynis dessert? We make a vitamin Mizaynis, we have to. But do we make a alamichya? No, we don't. Because Birchas Hamazon covers it. And Tosfos holds that if a person were to have Pasa Baba Kistan after Birchas Hamazon, if he ate a kazayis, even Rav Sheshes holds that he would make a al hamichya. Okay. So whether it is Larashi, whether it is Tosfos, the concept we get. Rav Sheshes says that we do find one exception, but only one exception, that the bracha after doesn't correspond to the bracha before. But when it comes to fruits, since, again, you're having it too sweet in your mouth, and therefore you got to make a ha'etz, let's say it's a stama fruit, not from the Shivas Haminim, you got to make a bracha, you got to make a bayit on nefashos. So holds Rav Sheshes. And now the Gemara says, upliga de Rav Chia. The Amar Rav Chia pas poiteres kol minei maichol, meaning Rav Chia holds that you don't make a bracha not prior nor after, even though you're not having it lalapes as a pas, even though you're not having it for nourishment, you're having it because you want to put something sweet in your mouth. Since you are having it in between the washing and the benching, Rav Chia holds pas poiteres kol minei machol, And likewise, let's continue with Rab Chia. V'yayin, this is also negei lamaisa. You make kiddush. Are you mechuyev then to make a shahakol? Let's say during a kiddush Shabbos day, you're going to wash in your house. You make a mezainis. You make kiddush. You make a mezainis. Then you have a cup of water. What's the din? You don't make a shahakol on the water. Why not? Because you made a hagefen on the wine, and that's the rule. That when you make a bracha for wine, that pater is kol minei mashkin. They are included in it. So coming back over here, so what do we do with the fruit? So the Gemara brings the following statement. Amar Rav Papa, Hilchase, Dvorim haboyim machmas asuda. Machmas asuda means because of the bread, lalapes esapas, and you're having it b'toich asuda, means after you ate hamoitzi. The din is ein tu'unim bracha loy lifneim v'loy lachareim. Next case, if shaloi machmas asuda, if you're not eating it because of the lalapes esapas, right? You're not eating it with the meal. For example, Rashi gives an example not for sweets. The first Rashi under the Gemara, you're having porridge. You don't need to have porridge with bread. Or you're having kruv, Rashi says. You're having cabbage or turadan or beets. She'enam lifton. You're not having it with the bread, but you are eating it to get nourishment. That's not like the case of the fruits. So, b'toich ha'su'uda, then to unim bracha lifneim. It's not tough. That's what Rav Papa holds. If anything that I don't eat with the bread is already not tough, and therefore it's not included in the hamoitzi, but since you're eating it for nourishment, so the birchas Hazan covers it. Because Hazan is, we're thanking Hashem for nourishing us. So therefore, ve'ein tuna bracha la'acharei. But, la'achar ha'su'uda says Rav Papa. La'achar ha'su'uda means, la'achar ha'su'uda, before birchas hamazon, obviously, tu'unim bracha, bein lifneim, bein la'acharei. Because since you're not even eating it for nourishment, so paskins Rav Papa, like fruit, what we would call today dessert, not with the bread, nor for nourishment, not only is it not included in the hamoitzi, it's not even included in birchas hamazon. So, paskins Rav Papa, and a lot more, God willing, on Daf Mem Beis.
So does it, you have to wait after birchas hamazon?
Not to wait.